What's up, everybody? I'm Metal Nick.
I'm Jeff Grindstoffer.
And welcome to episode number 14 of Vinyl Bang.
14. Man, 14. I know I do this every episode. It's crazy. Crazy that we've been doing this for 14 episodes now. Today's episode is a special one for me. We have one of my very good friends from, I don't know, we've been friends for a long time now, Scott.
Yeah, it's been, I can't remember how far back it was, 2010, somewhere around there?
Yeah, it's been at least 14, 15 years. Today on today's episode, we have Scott Baumgartner, a St. Louis, yay, Scott. We have Scott Baumgartner. Scott is a local St. Louis musician, ex-musician. Like, are you doing anything now?
Thinking about doing something. I'm currently, I guess, retired as a musician, but I've gotten the itch to start working on something.
You absolutely should. Scott is what was the guitarist for Hemmering Elysium from St. Louis, I guess around the 2010 era, because that's how we met, was you as the guitar player for Hemmering Elysium. Scott is an avid fan of the show, and he has quite a diverse collection of music, so I am excited to see what he is going to bring to the table tonight.
Before we get started, I just want to point out that Travis Ryan wrote a pretty bitchin' rap about this guy. I for some reason was just like, he was bragging about his Twitch, and I hopped on there one day and I listened to that, and there was a hilarious impression of Jeff, which I've heard Travis do quite a bit, but that's quite awesome.
Yeah, that was there for a while. Like, if you would see one of us at a show, you would see the other one. Like, Scott and I went to shows all the time. My favorite excursion that Scott and I ever did was whenever we went to the first full terror assault, and we had Camp Grindgartner.
Yep.
Camp Grindgartner. That was fun. That was a fun. We got to the festival and it was dark and we got lost. We couldn't remember where we parked. You remember that, dude?
That sucks.
I'll never forget it.
In the dark, in a big empty field in Illinois, it was rough. But
what was it, about 3 hours of us walking around trying to find the car?
We tried to find the car. Yeah. I think the last time you and I saw each other, Scott, was whenever we went to the Wu-Tang Nas Busta Rhymes show a couple of years back. That was a fun fucking concert. That was fun.
That was a fun show.
Nice.
I think that was my first time at Riverport since I worked there back in the mid 2000s.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Like, there was one point where you had to carry beer like across a parking lot or some shit, and like.
Yeah, my job was I would get beer from the back and take it to the different kiosks that were like stationed throughout. And they would just make us walk through the crowds to get there, and people just follow me like the Pied Piper to the.
Oh, Lily!
Yeah,
Lily.
She's probably going to make a couple appearances. She doesn't like me talking, and she thinks I'm talking to her, but I'm not looking at her.
Oh, yeah. Well, Lily should absolutely make appearances. She's a good girl. Good puppy. All right, so. In this episode, I guess, Scott, we're just going to focus on your collection and kind of chime in here and there, hear stories about why you picked these albums, and just kind of see how it all escalates from here.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Well, the first thing that I picked, and this album, I have notes here. This album came out last year on New Standard Elite Records. Let's see if I can get without the glare in there. And this is Nithing. Agonal Hymns. This was a limited pressing of 100, and I got number 31.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
I think this sold out really quickly. This is just standard black. But But this is, I don't know if you know who Matt Kilner is. He is the drummer of Iniquitous Deeds. He's the drummer of Gorgasm. I believe he's also the drummer of Vitriol.
Okay.
And this is his one-man project. He did everything on this. He also recorded it, and just basically this is entirely him. And I've got to say, this is probably the best brutal death metal album I heard last year.
Huh. Gotta look into this. I'm a big fan of one-man bands because there's a band called Internal that one guy does all the instruments and stuff. That's great.
I don't know how else to describe this album. It's just weird. Like it has a very weird sound to it, but I just really dig it. And I think the CD pressing of this sold out very quickly, and the vinyl sold out even quicker. So like, I think they finally are on the second press of the CD, and I'm not sure if they're going to press another vinyl of it. But this was just an amazing album. It very quickly just went to the top of my list for last year. It's funny, Matt Kilner, he's he's the drummer of Iniquitous Deeds. His guitar player, Nico, he does like sculpture work.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen the Cannibal Corpse, the face masks that they have on their guitar straps. He did those. He actually made this thing as a sculpture.
That's crazy.
The thing on the cover art, and I think they sold like 10 of them, something like that. And I wanted to get one, but they were like stupid expensive. But
how big were they?
I don't remember. I think they were probably about this size, like not huge, but it was like extremely detailed. He had all the teeth, he had the tongue and everything. They looked super cool. I was like, do I want to drop that kind of money on a sculpture? Where am I going to put it?
Right.
I think again they went pretty quickly, but no, this is definitely, I think, one of the best brutal death metal albums from last year. He put out an EP maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I thought that was going to be the end of it because it'd been so long. And I'm like, well, that was a really good EP. And all of a sudden, just kind of out of nowhere, this dropped. And like, yeah, it was worth the wait.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm beyond intrigued about this. I mean, because like whenever you sent us the list of albums you were going to talk about, the first one you mentioned was that one. Was this Nithing?
I've heard him pronounce. He's like, it can be pronounced both ways. I forgot what it means. It's something to do with like a curse or something like that.
Okay.
But he's like, he's not heard a definitive pronunciation. He's like, you can either call it Nithing or Nithing.
Fair enough. Yeah, whenever I saw that name in your list, I'm like, I've never heard of this project. I'm intrigued to see who this is. And based on your description, experimental, weird, brutal death metal.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I've already got it taken notes to check this album out because that sounds beyond intriguing.
Definitely.
And I had no idea about this project.
Well, and like I said, Matt Kilner is just a beast. Like on his Instagram, he's constantly posting him doing drum videos of different bands like Hate Eternal and Disgorge and everything. And like he's a phenomenal drummer. And getting to see what he can do just with everything. Because like I said, he plays guitar, bass, vocals, and drums and recorded it. And it's just insane that this is only one person.
Yeah. Beyond intrigued. I'm excited to listen to this album now.
I look forward to hearing what you think.
All right. So what we got next?
All right. Well, next. So this is an album. Well, this is a band really that when I was younger, when I was in my late teens, I got a CD sampler. And this was a band I'd always had heard of, but never had looked into, called Celtic Frost. And they put out a sampler for their new album coming out called Monotheist. And I just fell in love with this song. I bought the album. And I loved this album. And very shortly after that, the band broke up. And the lead singer and guitar player, the guy that wrote the majority of the music, said he was going to form a new band. It was going to be the third project he had done. He had done Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, and then he decided to start Triptychon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was waiting for this album because I mean he had been hyping it up so much. I loved the last Celtic Frost album, and he kept saying this is going to be a continuation of this sound. So like I could not have been more I could not have anticipated this album more. And I was really scared that it wasn't going to live up to my expectations, and it surpassed them. Like this is a desert island album for me. I can put this on at any time and be happy. And they released a vinyl, just black standard vinyl. And then a couple months later, they did a box set, which is what I have here. And nice H.R. Giger artwork.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
And the box set this is the painting. I actually have a print of this upstairs above my TV.
Okay.
And picture discs.
Oh, wow.
Damn. Very nice.
Incredible. Yeah.
Like I think this came out in looks like 2010. It was limited to 500. And I think this was the first picture disc. This is right about the time I started collecting records. And I believe this is the first picture disc set I owned. Then here's the other disc. And then the painting again.
Yeah.
And then it also came with an EP. So this is like the complete recording they did for this first album. And this, I don't know if you've listened to this, but it's like a mix of doom and death metal.
Okay.
And I think the shortest song on this record is maybe 6 minutes. It starts off with an 11-minute track and it ends with a 20-minute song. And I've seen them live once, and they started the set with the 11-minute song and ended with the 20-minute song.
No.
That's pretty nice. I've seen them. I saw them in a small club in Baltimore when they first started.
Nice.
And then they were scheduled to play Death Fest in I don't remember what year, but Geiger had died and they had to cancel.
Right.
And then the following year they came back and they opened up with Procreation of the Wicked, and it was just like it was all Celtic Frost songs. I don't think they played any Triptychon songs that night.
I think when I saw them, it was a 50-50 mix of Celtic Frost and Triptychon.
Yeah.
And I know they've done like Triptychon tribute sets where it's all, or Celtic Frost tribute sets where it's all Celtic Frost.
Yeah.
But I love being able to hear those songs regardless. It's him playing them. So like I'll take that opportunity to see him. But I could put this album on at any, like I'm always in the mood to listen to this record. Like I could just keep cycling through it and not get sick of it.
No, for sure. Yeah. They great live band. Like I said, I haven't put too much effort into listening to Triptychon themselves, but I have seen them live a couple times, and I listened to Cypress Hill with the bassist, the chick in the band. Does she play guitar?
Yeah, she plays bass.
Okay, I listened to Cypress Hill with her backstage. Jeff will fill you in on what that means later on. Yeah.
That's all. It was funny. The one time I got to see them, they played in Chicago, and I believe the place was called the Bottom Lounge. And me and a friend drove up to see them, and we get to this venue. I don't know, Jeff, if you've ever been there or not, but you walk in and it's like a restaurant. And we're like looking around like, this can't be right. Because, it's kind of like a fancier restaurant. And we're like, just very like felt out of place. And we happened to like, the GPS took us to the wrong place. We got to be in the wrong spot. And we saw there was a chalk sign and it said today's specials. And it said Triptychon and 1349.
Oh.
And we're like, okay. And then we walk up to the host and he's like, you here for the show? And there's a door behind him that you go into. So it's a restaurant and venue combined.
That's great.
Yeah, isn't that down? There's a monorail or something. There's like something down in that area.
I know the L train goes right next to it.
The L train. That's what I'm thinking of.
We parked right under it.
Yeah, Melanie and I saw Car Bomb and Gojira there several years ago at the Bottom Lounge, and dude, their burgers, and I know that I'm going on a tangent now, but their food was really good.
Nice.
It was very good food. It was very good. And I know talking to you about burgers is falling on deaf ears, but it was really good.
I've been trying to find an excuse to go back there. Just anytime I see a band play in Chicago, they never seem to play there, but I really enjoy that venue, and I would like to try the food sometime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very cool. Tripicon, like yours, Nick, they didn't play Death Fest. I could have swore I've seen that guy on stage.
Last Death Fest they played, and they also did that Hellhammer tribute.
Okay.
He did two sets.
I don't remember what year it was, but the vocalist, I'm not. I mean, I've heard of Tripicon, but I'm not familiar with the band. I'm not well versed in their music or whatever. But that vocalist, he's very distinct. Like when you see that guy, I can't even think of his name, but whenever you say,
yep,
that's it. Yeah, and I know I've seen that guy on stage at Death Fest because I quit drinking at that point. I would remember that.
I remember like that story I was telling when they played. They had to make up that year because they had to cancel because Geiger died. When they came back, and I remember I was in the media pit taking pictures of them when they started playing Procreation of the Wicked, and I remember feeling the bass vibration in my chest of like how fucking heavy that band was, and I just like, oh yes, like I'm at where I should be right now. Like I felt great,
I got to see Celtic Frost in St. Louis twice, and both times they opened with Procreation of the Wicked, and like you said, you could just feel it as soon as they started. And I remember the first time I saw him, I'm standing there and I was like, it just felt like the room got cold right before they walked out on stage. I'm like, am I imagining this? And then the second time I saw him, I kind of told everybody, and they're like, yeah, it did just suddenly just get cold right before they walked out. Like the power of suggestion.
Before we hit the stage, drop the temperature in there. That's fucking smart as shit. That's smart as shit. Put you all in some fucking chill vibe.
That's another thing I forgot to mention about Scott. Whenever I did a lot of sick drummer footage, or I guess whenever I'm still doing sick drummer footage, if you can see the front row, you'll see Scott.
Oh.
Scott's always on the barricade, always up front. He never moves. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do anything. Once he gets up front, he is planted there from the beginning of the set, or from the beginning of the show until the end of the show. You always see Scott in the front row of every show, which is nice.
I used to joke I was in more of your videos than anybody else.
Right. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I can always point out, like, oh, there he is. There's Scott. All right.
Next, I've got, I believe this came out on Seasons of Mist in 2021. This is Cynic Ascension Codes, and this is the picture disc.
Wow.
Now, this is not my favorite Cynic record, but I love the artwork on this. I think, like, I've shown this to a few friends. Like, I've never heard of this band, but I want to buy this just because of the artwork. And it's 2 discs, and each one just has this just amazing. It's almost like, it reminds me almost of Tool style artwork.
I could see that. Yeah.
And then here's the last one, but this was the first, I believe, the first Cynic full length since Sean Reinhart died. But
okay.
I do really love this album. It's definitely more of their progressive side, but this was limited to 500. It's not numbered. I don't know which one I've got, but this is an album I like to just drive around to. Like if I'm not listening to, if I'm not in the mood to listen to something that needs my attention, this is really good, just like background music.
Okay.
I love this artwork. And
that artwork is definitely badass.
And I thought the picture disc came out really well.
Mm-hmm.
That is some nice looking artwork for sure. I've never been huge on that band, but yeah, like That's some nice artwork.
I was late to the band. Like when they were one of those ones when I first started getting into death metal, I would see their names getting dropped all the time, and I just never really checked them out. And I remember they did a re-release of Focus, and I got the CD of Focus and bought it and then didn't listen to it for years. And finally one day I think I had my iPod on shuffle or something, and it popped up, and I'm like, oh, I should have been listening to this a long time ago. This is really good. And because it was funny because Jeff, you and I, we went to the Death to All show, which when Sean Reinhardt and Paul from Cynic did they played at that show, and actually I got that poster that they autographed.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I only knew them from Death. Like I didn't know Cynic I knew it Cynic. I'd heard of Cynic, but I never listened to him at that point. And like now I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have gone back in time and like appreciated seeing them more.
Sure. Absolutely. Cynic is one of those bands that like they have a very diehard following. Like majority of the people that listen to them, I mean, they listen. They are fucking Cynic everything, And I'm the same way. Like I've dabbled in them. I'm not well versed in them, but I definitely appreciate the band for what they've done. But I'm the same way with you. Like I wish I'd have known, or been more of a Cynic fan whenever we saw them in Chicago at the Death to All tour.
Right.
To appreciate what they were doing.
Exactly.
Or what came to be after they were in Death.
Right.
But and what year did that album come out?
This came out in 2021.
See, I don't remember that album. I know Focus and I can't even think of the other one.
I know I can't think of their second album.
Trace
and Error, I think.
Trace and Error.
See, I'm not a big fan. I remember when Sean died, it was like early 2020, I believe. So a few days after Reed Mullins died and Neil Peart, all three died in like the span of a week, and I just was like, what the fuck? Like I hit up Adam Jarvis, I was like, be safe, brother.
Right. I remember Sean Reinhardt died at the beginning of 2020, and their Cynic's bass player Sean Malone died at the end of 2020.
That's right. Oh my God, what a horrible year for that band.
It's like they bookend the year with just awful deaths, and it was just. Yeah. I know Paul took it pretty hard, and he did I thought a pretty decent tribute to them, and this was the first album without Reinhardt, and it's not the same, but it's still pretty good.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Right on.
Well, it really sucks.
Okay. Next, I have my favorite Carcass record, which is Symphonies of Sickness.
Hell yeah.
I don't remember which pressing this is, but this was a repress that Earache did in 2023 or 2013. Sorry, and they did limited numbers, and this is Ruptured Splatter is what it's called. And this is limited to 100.
Oh, sick!
And I think at the time this was the most limited vinyl I ever had bought. I remember they announced this was coming like the day before, and I remember I'm sitting there at work with the page. I just kept refreshing my browser so I could get the pre-order in. I think they said it sold out in like 15 seconds.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I happened to get lucky enough to get one of them, and this is like for the longest time. This is one of just my just prized possessions. I love this album. It's got my favorite Carcass song on it, Reek of Putrefaction. I love whenever they play that one live, which it's getting more and more rare.
Mm-hmm.
But to me that is their best record.
I told a similar story in the box set episode with that Carcass casket case, because I went online. I like you was hitting refresh, and then boom, so added to my cart, and it was sold out. And I bitched like a little fucking asshole and complained, and then they were like, well, too many people bought 2 copies like they weren't supposed to, so this one's for you. And told me, send me like a invoice, and I paid it real quick, and that was that.
Well, I remember I was listening to that episode, the box set episode, I think I was doing something. I had my phone in one room and I was in the other room, and all of a sudden I heard you talking about it. I'm like, I never even heard this. I'm like, come running into the room, like, what is this? What are you talking about? I had never had heard of that box set. I'm extremely jealous of that.
It came so quickly. I mean, they do weird shit like that. Lately, they've done the that Morbid Angel domination with the green slime, but like before that, I've seen this Carcass album, Necroticism, with like blood on it, and they teased it like months ago. So I would do the thing that I used to do where I would just check Earache every day, and then I just gave up because I was like, they're never going to release this, and they did secretly, like they did with the casket case, but like. None of these bands are making any money off it. Earache fucking.
I know
all that shit. It's a shame that we give them all of our money, but like, God damn.
That's the thing. Every time I buy a record from Earache, I'm like, I have this twinge of guilt for doing it because it's like the money's not going to the right place. But,
it's like almost Napster.
Yeah, but it's like that's such a cool looking record.
Yeah.
I remember I got it somewhere over there. I remember during the pandemic they released the Berserker picture disc for Dissimulate, and I bought that, and I felt awful because I know Luke from the Berserker had such a horrible experience with Earache, and I'm like, oh, sorry about this, buddy, but this picture disc is just sick looking.
I bet it was. Yeah, I remember that album. It was a cool record. Look.
All right.
Now, real quick, is that your only pressing?
No, I've got I believe two. I've got this one, and then I think a couple years ago they did I can't remember what's that term they use, the full dynamic something.
Oh yeah.
Full range dynamic.
Full range dynamic. I have a pressing of that one too.
Yeah, I think I got one of those too. Like I whenever they announced those, I got like 4 or 5 albums because they were cheap.
Yeah, I remember being that
expensive than regular vinyl.
Yeah, I've got 2 of Symphonies, and I think I have 2 of Reek.
Right.
And they did the same thing with Reek. They did one where it was limited to 100. I was able to grab that one, and then I think you and I both have the one that was sealed in like the bag,
the plastic bag. Yeah.
I have never opened mine. I have no idea what number mine is.
I've opened mine, unfortunately. Like I just had to see it. I was so enthralled in the whole packaging thing. Like, this is so cool. Why did I open this? Like, I had to see it.
No, I get it. Trust me. Like every once in a while, I'll come down and I'll notice it on my shelf because it kind of stands out.
Sure.
I'm like, I could probably find a way to open that and see, but I haven't done it yet.
Right on.
All
right. What do you got next, buddy?
Next is Exhumed, All Guts, No Glory.
Oh yeah.
And this was on Relapse Records in 2011, limited to 554. I actually got this record at Central Illinois Metal Fest. I believe it was my first year there. And they had a Relapse booth. This was, I guess, Exhumed's comeback tour. And they were headlining one of the nights, and Relapse had a booth at the fest. And I remember they had this. This is one of my favorite designs I've ever seen of vinyl. It is the saw blade.
Yes, that is so cool.
That's incredible.
I know other bands have done this before. I think Mortician has done a saw blade probably before Exhumed, but this was the first time I ever saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing this for sale on Relapse's website. I remember it was going for like a pretty high amount. I get to the Central Illinois Metal Fest. I went to the Relapse booth, and they didn't have a price sticker on it. And I remember I asked them, I said, how much are you guys selling this record for? And I think I bought this for like $15.
Nice. What a steal.
Because they just looked around. They're like, well, all the ones in this box are going for 15. I think it was going for like 40 on the website. And I'm like, if you'll sell it to me for 15, I'll take it.
Just take my money, hurry up so I can get out of here. You can find out and change your mind.
Exactly. But yeah, this is, as far as I can remember, this is the only shaped vinyl I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I just always
definitely a cool one to have. Definitely a cool record pressing to have. I got the same thing. Like I pre-ordered it. You know, whenever pre-orders first went up for it, I remember pre-ordering that. And yeah, whenever I got it, I was like, this turned out so amazing. You know, just I'd never seen anything like it. It was back whenever I started collecting records. You know, and of course I'd never seen anything like it at the time, and I haven't seen anything like that since. You know, like Anal Trump did the snowflake, you know, thing or whatever, but as far as like a full 12-inch and a saw blade, like never seen anything like it.
Actually, the only band I know that has also done a saw blade is Mortician. I don't even remember which record it was, but I've seen other bands do shaped vinyl, but like I don't know. To me, this is like it's one of the cooler looking ones, especially when you see it spinning and it just looks like a saw blade going. It's
Absolutely.
like that's really cool.
Yeah,
I kind of have a similar Relapse Syndig story. They have every year at Death Fest they have a booth, and one year I remember going through it, and I was going through their 7-inches, and I pulled out a 7-inch of Red Fang's wires, and it was clear vinyl.
Nice.
And it was and same deal. It was like I think it was like $7. I'm like, how much do you want for this? And he was like $7. I'm like, really? But I don't think the clear 7 inches are worth as much as the 12 inches. I think that was at the time their most popular, their biggest hit, especially with that hilarious music video they made from that. But I thought it was a huge steal to me taking that record. I think I've looked it up on Discogs, and it doesn't go for that much, but $7, fucking A, for a clear vinyl.
Oh,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, especially
Central
like
Illinois. How many times did we go to Central Illinois Metal Fest? I mean, I went to 2 or 3. Was that the one where Cephalic and Flesh Parade and you and I that year, I think.
You're right. That was that year. That was my first year going.
Mm-hmm.
And I only went to 2. I started going in 2011, and then 2012 was the last one.
That's right.
But it was a good. I love that fest. Like I fell in love with it really quickly, and it was such a shame that like by the time I started going is when it ended.
When it ended, yeah. The Canopy Club, the venue it was at was really fun.
Yeah, they had that. They had that huge room where you could have all the merch vendors set up. A huge room to see the stage, and then if you got tired, you could go up to the balcony and sit in the seats and watch the show from up there. So even if you got like tired, you could still see the show. You just weren't up front.
Right.
And no, I thought it was a really cool venue. It's just it's a shame that it ended, but Chicago Domination kind of took its place for a while.
Right.
And now that's moved down to Texas. So who knows what's going to take over in the Midwest.
Yeah.
You two need to start your own festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it dead center between the two of you, so people have to come out there, and Jeff doesn't have to drive 8,000 hours, and you don't have to drive that far either.
It's not a bad idea.
Like Wentzville.
There you go.
The Wentzville Baumgartner Fest.
It'll go real well.
Melanie will be there at least. Maybe she'll buy a ticket.
Yeah,
no guest list. No guest list. All right.
Next, I've got Ministry, Rio Grande Blood, which is the second of the Ministry Bush trilogy that he did back in, I think this came out in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So this was right when I first really started getting into Ministry. I had heard one of their songs on like a Rock the Vote album or something, like some sort of like compilation. They were trying to get people out to vote. They had a song from Houses of the Mole, and I remember hearing that and be like, because I had heard, I think, NWO and Just One Fix when I was younger, but it just really never spoke to me at the time. And I heard this song, which is almost like a thrash song. I'm like, oh, what's this band? So I started checking out their discography, fell in love with the band, and then this album came out. Which have either of you listened to this one?
I've listened to it just because of your enthusiasm for it, for Ministry in general. And, you know, I've been a fan since the early 90s. I mean, I want to hear something, to hear where Ministry is going with their music.
Right.
But I'm not familiar with that album at all.
This album, to me, it's the best. It's my second favorite of their entire discography. Like, I'm weird. My favorite Ministry album is Filth Pig.
Yes.
Which is the album that usually most people end up hating because it's not Psalm 69 Part 2. But I just love how slow and sludgy that one was, where this one is like, I used to joke when this first came out that this was like the album that Slayer never actually released. Because to me, it sounds like a Slayer album. And it's got Paul Raven from Killing Joke and Tommy Victor from Prong. And this was limited to, I believe, 3,000. And I've got number 1269.
Nice.
But yeah, when I first heard this record, I was just blown away that this was the same band. Because, like I said, it sounds like a Slayer record to me. And it is like so angry and pissed off. And I loved it. It's a little dated because there's so many Bush samples and references, but like it doesn't even really matter. It's still I can put it on tomorrow and it'll still sound good.
Right.
That was actually, and that album was the first time I ever saw them live, was when they were touring for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the live lineup at the time, it was Al on vocals, Tommy Victor from Prong on guitar, Paul on bass, and Mike Sasha from Rigor Mortis. He had just come back to the band. And Joey Jordison from Slipknot was on drums.
Oh, wow.
And it was the best. It's one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Like, they were on point that night. They brought their own, they played at Pops. And apparently they brought their own sound system because like they were blowing different venues PAs where they were playing. So they wanted to bring their own so they could be as loud as they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that show is insane. And it's sad because Paul Raven, Joey Jordison, and Mike Sasha are all dead now.
Mm. So
like most of that lineup is gone. But I think that was I've seen Ministry probably about 4 or 5 times, and that was the best and just tightest I've ever seen them play.
Right on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that because I don't remember hearing a Slayer-esque album. So maybe I should give Rio Grande Blood another shot because I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, listen to Senor Peligro. That you'll know what I'm talking about when you hear that song.
Right on. But before I forget, are you going to see them on September 1st? Open for Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper, because we should go. We should go and then leave after Ministry.
Yes, because I was debating about it because it's like, do I want to pay Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper prices to see Ministry?
I know, but we should definitely go. It's an idea.
No, trust me, I've been thinking about it.
Because I saw them at Louder Than Life, I think is the festival they have in Kentucky. I saw them last year, and they played nothing after Animosity Samina. Everything was the early days up until Dark Side. It was so good, Scott.
I think the last time I saw Ministry, I believe it was in 2018. They played their Americant album in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
And then they celebrated the 30th anniversary of Land of Rape and Honey, and they played mostly stuff from that album, which they hadn't played since like the early 90s. So that was cool getting to see that half of the set.
Sure.
But Yeah, I mean, they're always a good live band, and I really love seeing them in Chicago because they seem to really go all out for Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Well, who's from Chicago? I know that somebody in the band at one point.
Al originally was from Chicago.
Is that right? Is Al from Chicago?
I think he was born somewhere else, but born and raised in Chicago.
Okay. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
And I remember I saw them twice in 2018, both times in Chicago. And the first time, because it was like because he was home, we actually got Bad Blood for the first time in the set.
Nice.
And so it was like, all right, that was really cool getting to see a Dark Side of the Spoon song, because there's certain I've never seen anything from Filth Pig live. Like I think I've seen almost every record live, a song from every record live now except for Filth Pig, which is my favorite record. So of course that's the one I haven't seen anything live from.
Yeah. Filth Pig definitely doesn't get the attention it deserves, and I think a part of it, besides not being Psalm 69 Part 2, is the production of it.
Yeah,
it's just so raw. It's not polished. It's not.
It's a raw, just angry album, and that's part of why I like it.
Me too. Me too. That's why it resonated so much with me. But right on. Rio Grande Blood. I'm going to add that to the list of cool things that Scott's showing me today.
All right. So this is something I've been wanting to show you, Jeff, for a while. I don't know. I think I did post this online. I don't know if you saw it or not. But I kind of have a little bit of a story with this one. Okay. So, as you were kind of saying earlier, Travis Ryan from Cattle Decapitation has a Twitch channel in which he streams. And for a while, or one week, he did a contest where you could donate subs to his channel, and the winner of whoever donated the most got a skateboard. Is when they did that the Ripper skateboard.
Mm-hmm.
They got, I guess, some test pressings of the deck, and they did popsicle style skateboards. Which, growing up, my two passions were skateboarding and music. So, what better way than to combine the two?
Sure.
And he was only giving away one of these, and I think the rest were just going to go to the other guys in the band. Like the popsicle style board wasn't what they had originally ordered, so they only got a very limited number of them, and he was giving away one. And so me and this other guy on the stream got into a bidding war for trying to get this board. I donated a obscenely ridiculous amount of money, but I didn't win. So to compensate me for it, as a thank you for getting second place, I got my choice of a Nezi pressing. And I don't know if you can see the little green sticker up there.
Uh-huh.
And band archive sticker.
Nice.
I'm told only 5 of these exist, between 5 and 10. Mm-hmm. But these are the pressings that only members of the band were able to get. And so this is one of my most cherished records, just because of how this is probably the most rare one that I have.
That's awesome.
Very nice. A band archive pressing. I'm jealous.
It's not numbered because it just says limited pressing color vinyl. There's no number on it. I'm told it's between 5 and 10, and Travis signed it for me.
Thanks, Scott. That's awesome. Hell yeah, man. Very cool.
But yeah, if that's true, and there's only 5 of these, or 5 to 10 of these, this is the most rare pressing I have. Now, I did spend a stupid amount of money to get it, so.
Then you deserve it. You absolutely deserve that.
But yeah, this is, he gave me my pick of, I think, whatever my favorite record was that they put out between Harvest Floor and Death Atlas. And for me, that's probably Anthropocene, so I picked that one.
Hell yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Very, very cool.
But
great record.
oh, I love it. I mean, to me, they haven't put out anything bad, so this is just the top of what they've done for me.
No, absolutely. We've talked about that album quite a bit on this show, and you know, I've always said when it was out, I just could not imagine how they were going to follow that album up, and man, Jesus fucking Christ. Death Atlas was brilliant. I love that. And Terracite is incredible too. Like, they don't slow down somehow, and they're definitely not Jeff's favorite band.
No, not at all.
No, the albums are okay. The band is tired of talking about them, and nobody from the band is allowed on this show ever, ever. Especially Travis Ryan. But no, that's a cool story about the donations and the vinyl. And Travis had mentioned, I don't remember if it was in a chat that I was talking to him or text or what it was, but he told me that there were the band archive pressings, and I don't own one. So, do you still live in the same place, Scott Baumgartner?
No.
You don't live in the same house? I will see you tonight.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any of those.
I don't. Not yet. I will see you soon.
All right.
That's very cool, brother. Very cool that you have that.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably my favorite, just for the story of it and just how rare it is. Yeah, it's probably my favorite record I own.
Absolutely. Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
All right. So next, this is a strange one. This is the Reverend Kristen Michael Hayter. And this is that she did a limited press. She did several pressings, and one of them was it was like not a box set. It was like a pack deal where you got a bunch of all this other stuff with it. And that was limited to 200, and this one is signed.
Okay.
And it is on, I believe it's yellow. And if you don't know who she is, I don't know if you've ever heard of Lingua Ignota.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is her new project.
Wow. So
Lingua Ignota was what she started doing. It's kind of like a weird extreme noise band. She had so many different styles of music. It was kind of hard to categorize her. And she was actually an artist I found during the pandemic. I think Chelsea Wolfe posted something about her that she was one of her favorite, or she put out one of her favorite records in 2020. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to check this lady out. And I fell in love with her entire discography. I thought Lingua Ignota was just fantastic. And I went and saw her in Chicago on her. She decided to put the project to rest. She's like, a lot of those songs bring up really bad memories and some bad feelings and just exhausting to play. And she decided to retire the project and did a final 3-day show in Chicago. And we went and saw her. And on the third day, we didn't know it, but that was actually, she started playing songs that were on this album, Saved. And what this album is it's her doing traditional gospel songs, like There's Power in the Blood, Nothing But the Blood, just like a lot of blood songs, traditional gospel, as well as writing her own songs that sound like traditional gospel. And I remember her reading that she took the tapes after they recorded it, and they took all the tape out and they threw it around the studio, that she wanted this to sound like an album you'd find out in a shack in the woods that had been like old and decrepit and just have natural like warping to it.
Yeah.
And yeah. I don't know how else to describe it as just unhinged. And I don't know. It just, like, she'll have like these traditional gospel songs, and all of a sudden, like, it just cuts to her speaking in tongues for a few minutes, and then it cuts into the next song. And so it's a very strange listen, but I really dig it. It's something like, I don't listen to it a lot, but when I do, I really like I should listen to this more. It is really good. It came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably, I don't do top 10 lists, but it would have been in my top 10 had I done one. I know she's touring this project now, but she's not coming near St. Louis, and I think she's going to be in Chicago, but like I'm not going to be able to go, but I'd love to see her play more of these songs live.
Yeah.
She does them as almost like a old tent revival service. And I remember on her Facebook page, somebody's like, "What's the dress?" And she's like, "Your Sunday's best."
So it's a whole thing. It's a whole
it's almost like performance art.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Different. Cool.
Yeah, it's extremely different. Like I don't think I have any pictures. The third day of the festival that we went to in Chicago that she did, they decorated the venue like they had a giant table in the center, and like they had a piano up on the stage, and she came and walked out into the audience where they had this riser set up, and she had like a pulpit there, and she's like in a suit, and she's like preaching in between the songs. It's a whole, like I said, performance art. But like I said, it's really, it's a very strange album, but I really dig it.
So the audio itself, like it's not her with she doesn't like make it industrial. She doesn't make it a noise album. It's actual gospel music.
Yes. I believe she said the only instrument she used was just her voice and a piano, and that's it. And it's so good. Like they're I don't know. One of the songs that gets stuck in my head is called "All of My Friends Are Going to Hell," and it sounds like an old like Appalachian Mountain style gospel song.
Wow,
it's extremely catchy, and she released that as her first single, and it was stuck in my head for like weeks. It is just extremely catchy.
Reverend Kristen Hayter.
Yeah.
Okay. I again, you're blowing my mind tonight with all the shit that I haven't heard. So I'm gonna check this chick out for sure.
She has got, I mean, especially in Lingua, but even in this project, she is one of my favorite voices I've ever heard. She can go anywhere from like death metal, like screeching, all the way to like opera, and sometimes in the same song. Now, this doesn't have as much of like the extreme side of things, but it's still her voice. Just some of the notes she can hit gives me chills.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, definitely interesting. Yeah. Very cool.
All right. And the last one I picked, and this is another album for me that is a desert island. I could listen to this. I never get tired of this record. And this is Acid Bath When the Kite String Pops. And this is signed by Sammy, who is now the guitar player of Goatwhore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually how I found this band, was when a long time ago, I was a huge Goatwhore fan. And I heard I had heard that Sammy was in this other band from, I believe this originally came out in 1994. I don't know which pressing. This was released in 2022. I think there's only 500 on just random colors, and I got, looks like orange. This is on Rotten Records.
Huh. Rotten Records. Oh my God.
Wow. Right. But no, this album, when like I said, I started checking out some of the stuff he had done before, because like I said, I would go to Goatwhore shows and I'd see people asking him about Acid Bath. I'm like, what is this? So I checked it out, and I just fell in love with this record. It hits all different types of genre. To me, it goes death metal. There's like almost like some grunge aspects to it. Jeffy, either of you guys ever listen to this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I've dabbled in it, and I've listened to it a few times. I'm not they're another band that like Acid Bath has a very cult following. They have a very dedicated following. Like if people like Acid Bath, they like Acid Bath,
Exactly.
But I've listened to it, but haven't really.
Our friend Lindsay absolutely loves Dax.
Nice.
Yeah, she's got an autographed poster in her living room, and when I did not know who that gentleman was, she was very angry with me.
Because that's how fans of that band are. Like if you're not a follower, you're just like.
I'm sitting there like, I've known Sammy for years. I had no idea he was in this other band, so shame on me.
Well, I just remember, like, I would see Goat Horror a couple times. I saw him live a couple times, and I just remember, talking with Sammy afterwards, and people would come up to him and just scream Acid Bath at him, or when's Acid Bath doing anything else? Or I'm like, what? I need to check this out. And I think I just randomly saw the CD on sale somewhere. I bought it, and I can listen to that album for like a month straight and not get sick of it. It's each song is almost so different from the other songs on there. It's got almost everything. I remember I saw an interview once where they were saying that Dax is like the satanic Jim Morrison. Because he can do that style of voice, and then he can also do these just demonic screeching, and I don't know. I just love that record. Like there's not a year that goes by where I don't just get sucked into it for at least a month.
Well, that's a good album to have in your collection then, if it has that effect on you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Acid Bath. I don't own any Acid Bath. Like I said, I've dabbled, but never really got into them. But
it was really funny because they only ever put out 2 records, this one and Pagan Terrorist Tactics. And for whatever reason, I had been listening to this When the Kite String Pops for probably about 10 years before I ever even bothered to check out the second record. I don't know why. I just like, this one's so good. I felt like if the second one wasn't as good, it would have like diluted this one for whatever reason. But no, it's not as good, but it's close. It's not bad by any means. So
it's nothing to shake a stick at, but it's not When the Kite String Pops.
Exactly. Like I'll listen to it like a couple times and then go straight back to this one and just be like, all right, I'll stick with this one. But it's still good. It's still an amazing record.
Right on.
Killer. Well, thank you very much, Scott, for being our what is our third or fourth guest? I can't even remember. Fourth
guest.
After 14 episodes, I don't even know where we're at.
Right. This Vinyl Bang thing is consuming our lives at this point. We can't even keep track of what day it is, and I haven't eaten in weeks. And Scott, this was fun, man. I'm glad you agreed to be on the show, and I'm excited to check out Nithing, whichever it is.
Absolutely.
Because that artwork is
to check out as well.
Yeah, that artwork's incredible. The experimental, brutal death. I'm excited, and this Reverend. I lost her. Reverend Kristen Hayter.
Yeah.
I am excited to check these bands out.
I'm excited to see what you guys think, and thank you again so much for having me. I think I've watched. I know I watched every single episode, probably within a day or two of when you guys release them.
Oh, thank you.
I know it's not even just because I know you. It's just like I love hearing people talk passionately about music, and I love seeing that enthusiasm for like physical media still, which is sadly not quite what it used to be. But I love that there's still people that appreciate it and have the platform where they can talk about it and show off their collections.
Definitely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been a fun journey so far with Jeff, seeing what he's got, seeing what our guests have. Like I said, for forever, Jeff would talk about you. So I'm very happy for you to be on here with us today and show off your favorite, your choice cuts, I should say.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Scott. Thank you for everybody who watched and listened to this episode. And we will see you next week on Vital Bang.
All right. See you guys.